Hello fellow creatives, let me hope we are all doing well and everything is moving on well. This is Munye Scripts from Munye Scripts Lifestyle and Gary Films Production. Today we are going to be looking at some ways how to keep motivated as creative people. So I hope that all of you as creatives, you have had some time where you feel frustrated as you try to do your stuff of creation, whether you're coming up with a song, whether you're coming up with an artifact, whether you're coming up with anything within the creative art. You feel like giving up, you feel like stranded, you feel like stressed up. So how do you keep motivated as a creative person? That is what we are going to be discussing about today. And before we maybe continue with the video, what I would want to say thank you for those of you who have subscribed. Thank you for staying along. If you are meeting this video and Munye Scripts plus Munye Scripts Lifestyle for the first time, I'm grateful. And what I would say is hit that subscribe button and a thumbs up or a like. Then you do not also forget to comment, and that will do me a favor to see that we meet more people that may find these videos helpful. Okay, so our first point, I happen to make some points that you need to improve, or you need to see that you make sure that you meet them or you set them to make sure that you're basically motivated every time you're doing something or every time you're trying to come up with something. Okay, so the first step or the first thing that we should look at as creative people is setting goals. So whenever you're aiming at doing something or achieving something, you achieving it is basically you achieving that goal. So as a creative person, one of the things that you should consider first before you try to do something, consider setting up goals. Okay, and if we say let us set up a goal, what we should first look at is we have that main goal, then we have these subsidiary goals that help us meet that final goal. And what I would first say is there is ending. Okay, at least within these 2 months that are basically remaining, get a week out of them and say that maybe let me plan for the next year, maybe let me divide it into 4. And those 4 times you're dividing it, because a year has 12 months. So if you're dividing it into 4, it means you're dividing it into 3 months. Okay, and you're let me maybe after 3 months, I have to see that I achieve this amount. Okay, then the other thing I would say is before we may even divide the year, what we would consider doing, let me say we are working on a certain project, ensure to see that at least you break it into smaller goals, to see that when let me give you an example. If I'm making a drawing, then there is an initial stage of maybe sketching. Okay, you coming up with material. The first step is you coming up with the material you think you are to use. Then after, you also come up with maybe a sketch. Then you begin with initial coloring, then the final coloring. So those are almost 4 steps, if I'm right. Those are 4 steps. The coming up with material, the sketching, the initial color, and the final colors. Okay, so if at all I'm to do that, I may first start with maybe the first step, that is coming up with material, then make my sketches, then before I continue to maybe the initial coloring or coming up with the final conclusion, and then basically the total coloring, I may first say, okay, I have this and this, maybe I've come up with material, I've made my first sketches, so I'm let me first rest. Okay, because I've achieved some goals on the art piece I want to come up with. So if I first rest, then after I come back, it does not mean that I'm weak. Okay, but you're like planning to achieve better, or you're coming up with more ideas. So the moment you break away from that work that you have been doing, then you go and do some other part, some other thing, or you have some rest, then you come back and start from where you had stopped. You happen to pop up more ideas or come up with more ideas. So it is rather better to set goals and to always have smaller goals that lead you to the main what? To the main goal, because it is like easy for you to evaluate yourself and you're like, maybe if I have achieved this first step well, I can achieve the second step better, then it leads to something good and better. So the second idea would be surrounding yourself with inspiration. So as a creative person, do you believe that without that inspirational like environment, maybe you would not have come up with maybe that great hit that is making everyone mesmerized, or that is making everyone feel touched, that artifact or that art or that portrait? Okay, so all of us have different ways of getting inspired. You may find that for you, if you get some classic music as you do your fine art, maybe as you come up with your composition, if you have some music that is basically playing in the background, it makes you get inspired and come up with something that is wonderful. Then you find that if there are some other people that if they go to some beaches and like sit at the banks of water, they also get inspired. So try to find out what inspires you, because if like I'm an artist, maybe I draw sketches, I draw like portraits of people, you may find that if I put my slow music in the background, then sit at maybe the banks of water, I get inspired. Maybe I need totally quiet place, okay? So it means that I should always find a way of finding what inspires me to come up with great designs, okay? So always, as someone who is creative, you have to know yourself, then know what inspires you to bring out that inner peace, inner motivation, to spark or trigger that energy that makes you create better. So always find that as a creative person, okay? Then number 3, what I would also share as a way of keeping yourself motivated is experiment and try out new things. So I believe as a creative person, you may be like, let me just say that you like know one instrument so far. Maybe you can play a guitar, okay? So as you, most of the times as you write your songs, you usually use maybe a guitar to come up with maybe the right chords and some other stuff, okay? So always try out something new. You may maybe give yourself a task to like try to write on instrumentals that are basically done by some other producers. Besides that, you may try to go and join some WhatsApp groups, any communities or physical communities within your circles of different writers. Then you try to like try something new. Try out reggae instrumentals if at all you have been doing hip hop. Maybe if at all you have been doing reggae, try writing on maybe on acoustic, maybe on any other stuff, okay? So that would not keep you locked to one what genre. Maybe if at all you're a musician, maybe if at all you're an artist. So you trying out new stuff every day, it also sparks your inner abilities, because you may be concentrating on something, yet you are better at maybe something that you haven't discovered. So the more you discover something, maybe as you try out some other ideas, they may give you some answers to the questions that you were having maybe in something else you were doing, okay? So endeavor to say that you try that, because like for me, I can give you an example of like I've tried to do stock footage, like submitting stock footage to some websites, whereby I was asking myself, why am I not making what like sales maybe in music when I upload my music? So with doing stock footage, I happen to realize some stuff that I happen to apply in the music industry, where I was uploading my music for maybe for distribution. I happen to get to know some questions that I was having. I happen to get some answers that quality matters and numbers also do what? Matter. So I won't go into detail of that, but I've so far made some videos that can explain that. So endeavor to say that you subscribe so that you don't usually miss out on the videos that I happen to put out, okay? So as what I would urge you to do is endeavor to see that you subscribe to the MUCIAN Scripts Lifestyle channel and click that like button and leave a comment if you find these videos wonderful and more effective, okay? Learning something new, okay? Then the other thing is, I would say, is you have to make sure that you stay organized as a creative person, okay? When we happen to talk of organization, it also includes let us start with the way you like store your stuff. Because if like I'm an artist, okay, most of the times inspiration comes from anywhere. Let me use that example. Inspiration comes from anywhere. So let me say, yeah, like maybe walking somewhere, then you come up with a rhythm, right? Like you come up with a rhythm. So yeah, like let me like just maybe make a mouth beat, a beatbox, as hip hop people call it. Then after like maybe recording it on phone, you like jot it down. You have to give it a name. Then find a folder on your phone and keep it. Because if you do not organize it, maybe when you go home, you like maybe shift it to maybe a certain folder on your laptop, maybe on your computer. So if you do not do that, it means that by the time you try to look for that maybe rhythm to come up with something on it, you won't be able to see it. So that is why I say you have to be organized from your creations, okay, to your character, to the way you dress, the way you keep your, besides the dressing, the way you keep your stuff. Because as a creative person, as that idea pops up immediately, you should be able to put it down, okay? Then, like, if at all it is for a minute, if at all it is a second, if at all it is just 30 seconds, so you keep those 30 seconds, then from there you build up from there and like come up with something that is big, that is going to make someone like whatever thing you do. So endeavor to see that you stay organized, and that organization would save you time of looking for some stuff. Because if you know that I kept my work here, this is where I kept this, it means that it will save you a lot of time looking through piles of works looking for one piece. The other thing I would say is practice self-care. So most of the times as creative people, you like concentrate more on creation and you forget yourself, okay? So you have to take care of yourself. Whenever you're like maybe making, because I talked about that in our first step of setting goals, you have to make sure that you get enough rest as a creative person. Besides getting enough rest, as you do your work, give yourself some breaks. So as you come up with a song, have some rest periods, as it does not show that you are weak. Maybe you cannot write a song in just a few seconds, but you need to give yourself some space to rest and do some other stuff. Then you come back and you write. So it refreshes your mind and you come up with something. Though we have different ways of practicing self-care, okay? So you may find that someone stops there and goes out for a run, someone stops there and like goes for a bath, goes for like a shower, maybe goes for some sleep and comes back and does the same thing over and over again. And that is how you can maybe practice self-care. Then the other thing I would say, our number 6 would be you joining some community groups, okay? So with the coming of social media platforms, we can at least happen to share, however much you are shy, like meeting people physically as a creative person, at least you can happen to share by joining a WhatsApp group, a Facebook group, any other medium of communication that you can get access to. Or even in your local areas, you know some groups of people that are basically within the art industry. Or if at all you fear like taking your art, okay, maybe people picking up your ideas, at least what you would do is maybe you find some people that are a little bit genuine, that you can give your art, like your stuff that you have come up with, to look through it, and they also share theirs, and maybe you form a group of 5 people. That helps you grow, because the moment you happen to share, you also get to know how the other people happen to write their songs, how these write their songs. Maybe you've been having a challenge, maybe coming up with choruses, maybe verses. So you may find the other one maybe also having maybe a challenge in verses, yet for you have a challenge in choruses. So he gives you some ideas, you give him some ideas. That means basically it helps you grow and come up with some ideas that may help you quicken your way of creation or your way of coming up with stuff through sharing, okay, with different people in those different communities. So with our number 7 is keep learning, okay. So you shouldn't stop at one and think that you're already there, because with the creative art there are a lot of mediums that are always coming up. If at all it isn't just writing or just drawing, you may find that there are a lot of platforms or tools that come up every day that require you to keep learning. Because if at all I'm like to come up, let me give you an example. As a graphics designer, you may think of maybe I need Photoshop and I need Illustrator. Then to come up maybe with a design, I have to use both. Then you find another one just using maybe Corel Draw to come up with the same design that you used to, like you made after using 2 softwares together. So you have to keep learning and making research, okay, as a creative person. Look at some other people's ideas, what they have come up with, borrow ideas, let it inspire you to also come up with something, okay. So what I would say, as a creative person, keep learning. You know a guitar, try learning a keyboard. You know maybe some ideas with video production, try to learn some ideas with audio production, okay, so that when you hit the studio, you at least have some little knowledge on what to put across. Then the other thing, that is our number 8, embrace imperfection. So as creative people, most of the times, what I would say, even those top dogs that you're like, I would want to be like this person within maybe audio production, within video production, they also have fouls, or they happen to at least fail at times, okay, but they do not give up. So as a creative person, when you try to write a song and maybe you feel stuck at a certain point, you can stop there, and maybe the next day you continue from there. If you feel like, because some of you even happen to like produce songs for a year, you're always improving it, you take it to the public to listen to it, and again you call it back. Then you call again engineers, sound engineers, instrumentalists to come again and like make that piece come to existence. So art is considered finished when it is you, the owner, who says that I'm like done with that project, let it go to the public and let people enjoy it as it is, okay? Because as you hear it, it is art. So it is you who is to say that yes, that project is what is ready for people to listen to, okay? So endeavor to see that you embrace imperfection, and that will help you improve, because as you continue working on different projects, you happen to like notice that you are either improving every time you embark maybe on an album, then you put it aside, work on another project, you see yourself improving every day. And then, but if you like make a project, then call it back, then you remake it, then call it back. When will you like come up with maybe a finished project and say this is done, this is done, this is done, then evaluate yourself, what is to be improved, what is to achieve, maybe to be achieved maybe next time. So embrace imperfection and look at improving or making better projects than that first project or that previous project. Then the other thing I would say briefly to keep the video short is learn from failure. Okay, so as a creative person, don't stop because you failed to maybe win a Grammy, yet you invested a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of marketing, a lot of stuff. Don't like stop there because maybe you failed to win anything, you failed to achieve anything. So most of the times, as I told you previously, we happen, even those that we look at or we look up to at times happen to do what? Fail. So failure is part of life, okay? So learn from your failures, okay? So if you happen to fail, just make sure that you understand why you failed and try to see that you improve after learning that I failed because of this. Then look at improving and seeing that you get better. Then with our number 10, that is to take breaks. I've already explained this, that do not work throughout. You're like, I have to complete this within just a few minutes. Give yourselves breaks, because once you give yourself breaks, so it helps you come up with new ideas, improve those previous ideas you have come up with, and generate something that is a little bit better. Then keep a positive mind as a creative person. However much you have failed, however much these, or maybe you wanted some materials, the people that had to deliver never delivered as you expected. Maybe you wanted to work with maybe a certain producer on your project, then he sent you someone else. Yes, you are like, you have not happened to meet the people as you wanted the team to be, but keep that more like positive mind, because you may not happen to exhaust what the other person who has come to your team has. So if you happen to keep that positive mind, you happen to come up with something that is great. Okay, always keep that positive mind and keep motivated. That positive mind would keep you motivated and would keep you achieving. Okay, so keep that positive mind, and that is my conclusion. What I would say is endeavor to see that you subscribe so that you do not miss out on any of the videos that we happen to upload. If you find these videos helpful, just do one thing: subscribe. Then the other thing I would say, we have some websites that we would want to share with you, that is Latest UG Music and latestugmusic.com and latestugmusic.online. You can upload any digital content, set your own price, you retain your rights, you just upload, set your own prices, and when people buy, you take a share that is 65%, and the 35% is retained by the platform to see that it is maintained, it is marketed, you are handled the best way as our client, so that you achieve from what you have to offer. Okay, so endeavor to see that you visit them, you try, not even trying, trust me. So if you can, go to the description of this video, find contacts, they are both on WhatsApp. Endeavor to see that we talk on WhatsApp if you didn't understand anything. And the last website that we have for you is called latestugmusic.xyz, where we can post our businesses and people look at them, see them, like we are informing them about the services we offer. So go there, check them out, and I'll be grateful if you join me, if you subscribe to this YouTube channel. So endeavor to say that you subscribe, you comment. Peace. We love you.